On this film, we really designed a lot of different costumes. Designing costumes for two worlds is a lot of work.
A lot of times the clothes can tell you something about the personality of the characters. Our number one priority is to give you a sense of the emotional state of our characters.
Costumes matter in so many ways. I mean, I think we would really giggle if we all went to a movie where characters didn't have costumes.
The costumes, both in the land of the dead and the land of the living, are fabulous because they're so authentic.
From a cultural perspective, we didn't want to just make up items of clothing for people to be wearing. We wanted it to be rooted in Mexican culture.
We did a lot of extensive research from the south to the north of Mexico. Everywhere you go, people look so different and dress differently. People wear manufactured clothing and traditional clothing and swimsuits and whatever they want.
The costumes in Coco really range from late 1800s through the present day.
For the Land of the Dead, we wanted to do a mix of different costumes and designs that people who are now alive would remember. It's like fashion through the ages.
I can still remember my grandmother, who was born in 1900, and my mother can remember her grandmother, who was born in 1880, and so that period is well represented in the world of the dead. The Victorian look of the Land of the Dead was inspired by the engravings of Jose Guadalupe Posada. His image of the Katrina character, the skeleton with the big Victorian hat, is kind of iconic of Dia de Muertos.
We're trying to be really smart about how we use it to get the most variety.
We needed to create a huge variety of characters that were different both in size and shape. Because they're skeletons, if you kind of zoom really far out, they kind of look the same. So in a way, the costumes had to become the characters. So much of what is outwardly portrayed comes out of their outfits. Like, you know what region they're from, or you know what time period they're from.
There was a lot of thought that went into making these costumes be as true to the history as possible.
Like a look also that's contemporary, but it would still look sort of indigenous, like longer skirts.
Santa Cecilia is mostly contemporary clothing.
Miguel has a big family in Santa Cecilia, and we tried to communicate their personalities through their clothing. Miguel's cousin Abel is a big soccer fan. He's like a would-be athlete. His mother is wearing a traditional Oaxacan embroidered blouse. Her costume is a little more traditional than her sister's.
She's a little bit more like cool and like punk. She's like wearing the jeans and very bright colors. I would wear that, I thought it was cool.
Mama Coco, she definitely is more in a much more traditional outfit. She has her little woven blanket on her.
Should we incorporate her shawl like in the boards?
I think so.
Mama Coco is basically wearing a freshly starched nightgown, also with a Oaxacan embroidery on the bodice. We wanted her to look like somebody's great-grandma that is honored but is not very active.
I used to run like this, but now I run like this, it's just way faster.
Danny, is this your son? He's super cute.
Yeah,
How old is he, 8?
He just turned 9.
9.
But it turns out he was pretty close to the right proportions. He's younger and got the bigger head still.
You guys can start thinking about his jeans since he's wearing them through the movie. Make them a bit more worn. Maybe there's a hole in the knee.
And does he cuff the bottom of the pants, or do you think he just...
I don't know. I mean, we've drawn him cuffed a lot just because, Dean kind of does a cuff him a lot.
It'd be cool.
Miguel's costume is really complicated. It is a hoodie and jeans and a tank top, but that hoodie has so much variation to it. It has a real zipper, it has real pockets, the hood can go up and down, the hood can even squeeze around his face.
We have Miguel and he's in an environment that's foreign to him and he's uncomfortable. He might bashfully put his hands in the pockets of his hoodie and kind of try to feel small and invisible. Cloth has a big impact on our acting.
In animation, when a character dances, the clothing has to dance too. Whatever the shapes and the flows of the poses of the dance are, the cloth has to follow it. We had dancers over to basically get a feel of what the traditional dance was, and they taught us some steps.
What Rudy and I are going to do are going to come up with a menu of, Jalisco and polka and some Chiapas, I think they said, and Nayarit steps.
The dances in Mexico are as numerous as the regions in Mexico.
In Oaxaca, for example, there are 7 regions and every town has a different costume.
The dancers that are in the De La Cruz Spectacular, they're all wearing what's called Jalisco-style dresses.
Oh, this is heavy. This skirt and the Jalisco skirts are 2 full circles, so that they're cut. There's a lot of fabric there, but the actual top body of it has maybe 3.5 yards of fabric. And then when you add all of the ribbons, like Ruth's skirt has, this skirt is about 20 pounds.
Like this?
So.
Never mind the gym, man. This thing. I can build my biceps on this one.
When we were twirling the skirts in the computer, you had to be true to the dance. And we worked back and forth with the animators in order to recreate the exact kind of motion you see in the reference.
Christine, there's also something really nice. If you notice, it's one clean shape, but then when you look at the actual skeleton, I feel like if we draped cloth on that, it would go in the pelvic bone and then around the femur.
Regular living humans dancing are held to certain rules, but skeletons aren't because they don't have any skin or muscle or tissue. Our skeletal structure is only 20% of our body weight. If the movement of the skeleton is light and the cloth is 20 pounds, how's that going to look? We realized that in the dead world, maybe the rules were that the cloth wasn't so heavy.
Digital cloth is made of a mesh of triangles and points.
We start with panels of cloth and we stitch them together in order to make a costume on the character.
Then we simulate the clothing on the animation. So the problem with putting clothing on skeletons is that the skeleton is made up of little tiny bones.
And it was very easy for the cloth to get caught in between individual bones.
That's the worst case scenario for digital clothing because all of the clothing dives into the crevices of the bones, kind of like a skeleton wedgie.
To fix this problem, we implemented a technique known as continuous collision detection, which allows you to robustly detect all of the collisions as a character moves, even if it's moving really fast. No more wedgies.
Typically in animation, interacting with cloth is very complicated. We interacted with cloth all over this film. Hector grabbing his suspenders, De La Cruz adjusting his tie, or Imelda picking up her dress as she's walking. Throughout the film, we just started touching everything.
The fact that we can costume hundreds of characters now in lushly layered Victorian costumes is wonderful to me.
Things that I didn't even work on, whenever I saw them on screen, I'd be like, oh my God, they nailed that. And it just made me so happy to see how hard everyone here was trying to represent our culture with such respect and accuracy. I think Coco is a beautiful love letter to Mexico. So it was so exciting to work on it.